Hello everybody, welcome to this lecture. So today guys we will talk about software architecture layers. So we have here, or we can say especially we will talk about data access layer. So this actually is very important topics to learn how to, we can say, it's organize your applications, not writing your code but organize your applications, how to write the part of the code that it's can access the database, it's separate than other parts. So this is what we call it is data access layers. So in this lecture we will talk about the software architecture in general, and then the benefits and the challenges of in using these layers. So and then we will see an real application just to see where is this layer in any software, and then we will talk about our topic, which is data access layer. So here we'll to cover this kind of topics, which is what is the data access layers, what is the components of the data access, and the design, or we can say designing the best practice for designing data access layer, and then we will end with an example as well. So guys, let's say guys you are developing an application, so any application, so let's say software developments, or let's say now you are using an applications before, regarding less developing or coding, you are using an applications, and these applications for example is student management system. So you want to access to your courses in that student management system or learning platforms. So let's say is the model, and you start using that application. So the first step, maybe you do it every day, what is login. So once you start log in, what you will do once you log in, you will key in your data and then click. So let's say this is you, and this is the database that you want to access, and now you start key in your username, password, and then click the button for login. So this is the first step that you use it, right? So this is actually, we can say now you are dealing, or we are interacting with the first layer of these applications, which is the presentation layer. So this is the presentation layer. So anything is related to user interfaces such as text, images, buttons, whatever's the user can see in the applications. So this is, we can say is the presentation layers, the presentation layer. So this is the first layers. So now, okay, let's move on to the second part. So now you click the button for access your data. For example, as we say, is the login, only the login button. So what will happen next? So now in the next stage, or we can say in the next layers, what you will do, you will, or what the application will do, the application will check your data. You will check your ID, user and password, and then maybe they will check as well your location and other stuff. So this part, in this actually part of your application, maybe we can say now the application should, for example, check your data, check your user ID, check the, maybe we can say as the validations of your data, right? So we'll check with user ID is taking the same format. Maybe the another things is the location, your location, is your location actually it's same your location that maybe you used to log in from. So this also, this stuff, we can say now you are interacting with the second layer, which is, here is the second layer, which is the business logic layer. Or in the second layer, we execute, or the second layer actually is execute what the business rules. The business rules is can be anything, is can be also, as you see, the data validations, some the process of the business, for example. Okay, in banking, so there is the verification, the authentication, so, and this is it actually is all under the business logic layer. So let's now move to the next. Now your data is valid and everything is correct. So what is the next? The next, you want to see all the courses that you have or that you enrolled. So now means that you are moving to, or the application move to the next layer, which is data access layer. Data access layer. So this is the third one now, where you will, where the application will establish the connection to the database. Establish the connection to the database and start fetch, or we can say retrieve the data from the database. So now everything well. So now what will happen? It will go back to the business layer, and then to the display or the presentation layer, and then display all the information to you. So guys, this is the info. This is how the, we can say, how the software architecture layers. So it's just separate all sections or parts of the application to make that applications, it's, we can say, it's easy to follow, easy to debug, also to fix if there is any errors or bugs. So maybe we can say here, what is the benefit of designing the software by this way? So it's make the software is maintainable, also it's scalable, also we increase the separation in our applications. So in general, guys, we can say we have three layers. One is the presentation, business logic, and access layer. So guys, what the benefit of using such layer in our applications? Actually, you can imagine, guys, you have, for example, one applications, and this application, let's say this is application A, and here you write everything in one file, right? And you have another application B, and this you separate each part into a separate section, and based on its task, or based on its disk, or based on its purpose. So here we have, for example, three we have three application or three files. So this part here will connect your database and will display the information to the user. Also will do all the stuff together. Okay, so here, guys, if you come to maintains these, if you want to fix any bug, if you want to extend your application, so it will be quite difficult, because everything together. But here, if you have here, for example, this only for connecting the database, and this is to interact with the user, and this is to do some task. So once you have any problem, or once you face any problem here, it's easy to fix it, and it will be, for example, at it's maybe it's isolated from the other part of the applications. For example, maybe we have problem with connecting to the database, so why we go for the part who's responsible about interact with the user, so we don't have to go there, so we just fix the problem here. So the first things that we can say is the benefits of our this kind of separations or layers in your applications actually is the maintainability. So it will increase the maintainability of your application, so it will be easy to maintain, easy to fix the bug if there are any bugs. So as I mentioned, also the same thing is the scalability. What's mean by scalability here? So here, if you want to extend this one, actually maybe you will just add more code. But here, just you want to, for example, maybe you are working with one table, so you add another table. You don't have to touch the, for example, the connections, right? So it will be easy to extend your applications, easy to add another components if needed. So of course also it will be easy to test. So here the testability. So the testability of individual components, it will be easier than testing all the components together. So this is some benefits of using software architecture layers. So in the other side, of course, by separate these layers into individual layers, so it will increase the complexity. Also, the processing overheads means that it will also increase everything's related to the works, related to the expense, related to anything else. So it will be increased, means that you need an extra works, you need extra works to do or to follow these steps or follow the layers in your applications. So there is some challenge also, there is, but in another hand there is a benefit of using the layers. So guys, let's see this example, which is a real world example. So it's the purpose of the example just to know where is each layer. So in the example, so for example, we have here a student access, student management system. It says student management system website, and you want to access to your data, to your courses, your exam in this exam or in this example on this system. So where is the layers? So here, where is the presentation layer? Where is the access, the business logic layer? Where is the data access layer? So guys, here now you start, as I mentioned in the beginning of this lecture, we start, for example, key in your data, your ID, and then click the button for login. So now guys, so the layer that is responsible about the interfaces actually is the presentation layer. It's the presentation layer, which is, for example, the place where you will key in your ID, the place where you will click the button. So this is the presentation layer. So we come to the second layer, which is the logic layer. So now you key in your ID, and it's time to verify that ID. So this is the business logic layer, and as well also retrieve the data from the database, for example, and then send it back to the business layer. So this is all is about the business layer. So now you already, for example, in the business layer, verify your ID, right? And then you send the request to the data access layer. This your request, which is, for example, view your exam result or view your courses, so it will be sent to the data access layer. So the data access layer that have information that you want to access the database. So what the database or the data access layer do? The data access layer, the first thing is just try to establish the connection between your application and database, and then execute the query based on your query. We execute the query and then retrieve the data and send this data to the presentation or the business layer. Send the data to the business layer, and then we back to presentation layer. Now you have the data. The data is already retrieved from the database. So you have the data. So what will happen now? This data, it should be displayed to the user, should be displayed to you. So what is the data access layer? The data access layer is the layers or the part of the application or the part of your code that responsible about manage the communication between the application and the database. Is the code or anything is responsible about make and manage the communication between the application and the database. So as I mentioned, so it can be seen as a bridge. It can be seen as a bridge between the business logic and database and their database. So here in general, we can say what is the main components of or responsibilities of your data access layer.
So here, guys, we can say the first responsibility of the data access layer is to make a connection, to establish the connection between the application and the database. Okay, so this is the first point, that we have to establish the connection between your application and the database. So this is the first one. So the second one, which is retrieve the data and manipulate the data. So this is the second one. Now means that it's who's responsible about make for example updating and deleting. So it's data access layer. So also is its responsibility also is SQL query executions. So the same thing is belong to the first one, which is also execute this query. Also the result. Okay, now we receive, this is anything is once you receive the result of this, so you can handle these results, means you can send it back to the business layer. In this layer also you can also handle the errors. So that, or the data access layer, also is responsible for handling the errors and validating the data. Last, also it's responsible about transaction management. So this is actually the transaction management. Actually, for example, okay, you access to the data, and then you make, for example, any transactions. So you have to commit these transactions. So who's responsible about save or complete the transaction is the data access layer.